Hello there. It's my first time introducing everybody. It's going to go terribly. So thank you for joining us again. Me, Self and Jamie, we're going to be talking to you about recovery in terms of sort of a performance-based, in terms of in the gym, what it looks like, what we mean by recovery. And I think the prime thing we sort of spoke about is knowing when to push, knowing when to pull back, and what that looks like. So we had a conversation a second ago, weren't we? You were saying about you training this week. You've done, was it like a legs bench?
Yeah, I did like a squat bench deadlift thing and tried to run after.
Didn't go well.
Disaster. Yeah.
And you've got legs again today.
Yes. That wasn't, yes. I mean, I did that session on, Monday? Maybe Tuesday. Went into that session just like, to be honest with you, for this entire last 2 weeks, I've just felt pretty subpar, like waking up tired. The drive to train hasn't been there. When I have trained, actually on a lot of the stuff, the numbers have been okay, which is a decent response, but just feel just a little bit off, a little bit low on energy, and just like little tightness. So I always do testing. I don't know, this is a strange thing to do. I don't know if anyone else does this, but I always test when it comes to legs, single leg squat.
Right, okay.
Only because I find it always tells me where I'm tight.
Yeah.
I can stand and I can walk around and I could do like a normal body weight squat and nothing comes up. If I do a single leg squat, my hip either cramps if that's the issue. I get extreme tightness through my quad if that's the issue. Just talking about like upper leg.
Yeah.
And I did one yesterday and I was like, it feels like my kneecap's going to tear through my leg. So like I'd use that as a bit of an indicator. But yeah, just tight and just off and just feel like my scores aren't bad. My HRV is not necessarily bad, which is what we'll get on to talk about a little bit in terms of recovery. But legs coming around today. Do I feel ready for it mentally or physically? No.
And I guess the key thing is to talk about around that is there's going to be times like that where performance-wise in the gym, numbers are probably looking okay, but actually how we feel is sluggish and not ready for it.
That's an important, let's get into that. How do we get ahead of ourselves? Because we've got to look for the cues.
Yeah.
Is it a factor? And I know my own journey, sometimes yes, sometimes no, is the truthful answer. There's no silver bullet. But is it a factor of plan your deloads in advance, plan your breaks in advance, whether that's you're going on a family holiday or you're just taking a strategic break or you're doing it around business travel, regardless of how you feel, to stay away from that point where I am now?
Yeah.
Or do you wait until you start to feel a little bit of a creak and then implement something? What would you do?
I think the performance scientist in me says it has to be planned in. We should design a plan in such a way that we know how loads are going to be, volume, intensity, where it's going to essentially, if it ramps up where that ramp is and where the ramp finishes, we know that deload starts. However, that's great in a very sterile performance athletic population where all they have to worry about is turning up, training, going away. I think the less time I've spent training athletes and just training people that are training to either lose weight or have a goal, I think you've got to be a little bit, you're still going to be strategic with it. You've got to still have an eyeball, right? Okay, like you said, family holidays, little breaks like that, they're quite nice natural deloads that don't really impact that person that much and it can be quite nice. Go away with your family, don't worry about training, go enjoy yourself. But at the same time, I think it's important to note that we sometimes have to be a little bit dynamic with it. So it's like how you're feeling now. I think the prime example is numbers are all right, but you feel pretty trash. For me, that's a precursor that, okay, you feel fine now. You feel bad. Numbers are doing well. If you keep pushing for another 2 weeks, you might reach a point where you feel crap, numbers start coming down, and we've basically compounded another 2 weeks of accumulative stress. Whereas if now we say, right, okay, Jamie, let's put in a little deload strategy. We're going to say, right, for the next week, you drop your 1RM percentage working at, say you're working at 80%, right? And when you drop down to 60%, your volume, if you're going to do 10 sets for that session, I want your volume to be seven sets accumulative, and just basically lift your foot off the gas a little bit. And you're still going through the motion, you're still doing something, that still scratches the itch, we're still working towards our goal.
Flex the mental muscle, yeah.
Exactly that. It's about consistency. I'm not pulling the rug from you and expecting next week to go back to it. So we're still building positive habits, but we're doing it in such a way that we're reducing the overall load on you with the aim that next week we can look to reintroduce maybe a set, maybe increase the percentage we're working at, and basically start to creep back up. And I think that's something that I've massively underappreciated myself. There's times where, and we'll both be guilty of this, and probably how you feeling now is that I don't feel great, but I'm still going to train.
Yeah.
And I'm still going to train at the level of which I expect myself to be on the best day.
Yeah.
And we can compensate for so long. And you're like, actually, I feel all right. Maybe I was having an off day. Fast forward like a month from now, the amount of times I've done this, the wheels fall off.
Yeah.
I get injured, something blows up. Normally it's that. For me, my issue is being so pig-headed and kind of obsessed with training is that I end up hurting myself. Something blows, and then I'm forced to basically deload because my back's blown up. I can't squat.
The issue is as well, and maybe some of you guys will resonate with this. If people ask me now why I train for my mind. I train because it makes me feel good, and I want to, again, just flex the discipline muscle and
it's who you are.
It's part of my identity and what it gives me back. But the consequence of that is that going and doing, this is so stupid. This goes against what you just said. Going and doing a session that isn't at 100% capacity makes me feel worse sometimes.
Yes. Yeah. Like, what's the point in that?
Yeah. I'm like, fucking hell, I've gone backwards. That's pretty shit. Even though I've got all the knowledge in the world to be able to go, stop being a prick.
It's hard when it's you.
It's really, really difficult. So, like, when people are in that state, and look, there's probably someone listening thinking, I can't even motivate myself to train, so they can't resonate with this. But for someone in that state where they hold themselves either to the level of 100% now, or maybe they haven't trained for a while, but they hold themselves to what they used to do in college or when they were 30 and they're now in their mid 40s, what would you say they can do to combat that? Because if they don't combat that, they will run themselves into the ground.
They will. The first thing is recognizing that. Let's be real. Like, we both know that as we're slowly getting older, we know.
Oh, it's happening, brother.
Yeah.
It's happening.
Things don't operate the way they used to, or niggles happen more often.
Out of curiosity, are you feeling that yet?
Mate, I haven't felt this since I was 20.
Yeah, it's mad though, isn't it? Because especially with the people I work with, it's like 40s, 50s and stuff, got no excuse to be saying this. But even at, I know we've had Luca and stuff, but I feel it now, mate. Like my capacity is so much lower than it used to be.
And I think life, responsibilities, all of it changes, and things happen. Me and Zoe talking about this with her pregnancy, is that she's now 6 months pregnant. She's 27 weeks. We are now entering the final trimester, this sort of go time. And I look back and think, it feels like it's been so fast yet so long. And it's because as every day you're going through, she's pregnant, you just get used to it being a thing.
It's the new normal almost.
And it's the same as you age. You age and things ache. Oh, elbow's fucked. Great, move on. Like in next year, ankle's fucked. Okay, great. It's an accumulation of things. It's not until you get to, like we mentioned before in previous episodes, where you have a health episode that you go to the doctor and you review. You're now 40. You look back and think, actually, I hurt my back when I was this, elbow this. Now I've got this. Now I've got that. It's not until you review what's going on that it kind of it makes sense to you. And I think like we said, the first thing is to recognize where you're at. And if you've not trained for years, but you used to be the superstar guy in university or college or school, whatever it is, you've been that person. So you've got the capacity to do something fantastic and be really, really good.
You're just not there.
Just not there.
Yeah.
So we need to try. And realistically, if you're 40 and when you were 20, you used to be rapid at sprinting, you ain't going to be that person again. And we have to all recognize that. There's no bones about that. Life and age and time weathers all of us, but that doesn't mean you can't be great at whatever it is now, because you at 40 or you at whatever age it is the best that you can be there. Like, there's no point in looking back. It's looking forward now, because you ain't never going to be that person again, but who you want to be 10 years from now, we can impact now. So having that reflection, and then your training program's got to reflect your training status. If you're very well trained, we can give you, and you come to us to work with us, and you're already quite established, we can give you quite a bit of volume and essentially apply some to you, apply some intensity, and review it 2-3 weeks. Like in our previous episode, look at the data, what's happened to the heart rate, how do you feel, what's your sleep score, have that review, and then depending on what's happening, we can pull back or push on. If you're someone that's fairly untrained, then it's a bit more difficult to start off with, because if we give you too much, it can be physically too bearing for the body and you're knackered, but also mentally, if you've gone from doing nothing at all and I've just gave you so much to do, you think, where the fuck am I going to do this, Matt? You just piled this on me.
Yeah, it's a really interesting equation, that part. And I think about this all the time when I'm programming someone who isn't doing a lot now.
Yeah.
And then we're moving into trying to get the ball rolling. I always say, you can't throw the kitchen sink. Goes back to recovery and trying to get ahead of yourself to prevent that burnout. However, you need enough to build that mental muscle.
Yeah.
So it's like whatever way that you skin the cat, if you look at their 7-day week and you put in workouts Monday, Wednesday, Friday. For some people I work with, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, forget the how their physiology responds and how they feel. Mentally, they're going day on, day off, day on, day off.
Yeah.
And some people really need that every single day. They know they're doing something.
Yeah.
So that's where you got to be smart with, like, okay, I'm going to get you doing something every single day, but the intensity of and what that looks like is going to be variable. So it's interesting how those things have to come together. And it's also very subjective, isn't it?
And everyone's individual. I think we said before in a podcast, I remember my opening line at university was, the issue of training is there's lots of right ways. And it is like, you might do, look like CT Fletcher, people like that, doing ridiculous volume. Rich Piana.
Yeah.
Massive, like 30-set arm workouts. If me and you went and did 30 sets on arms, mate, I'd be asking Zoe to wipe my backside tomorrow, because you just can't do it. But for him, the position is in, obviously some special sauce.
Yeah.
It allows it to do that. So that's really quite important. It's recognizing where you're at. Like, for example, we spoke before, during COVID, I did high frequency training because I was 4 days at work, I had access to a gym, incredibly thankful for that. And 4 days, obviously, 4 days off I didn't. And the high frequency worked really, really well because it balances essentially you're taking a week's worth of intensity and volume, and for 4 days I'm going to train full body, but at the same intensity and volume as
so you did 4, just to break that down for people, you did 4 full body sessions across 4 days, minimizing the volume in the session and spreading that out.
Exactly. So basically, say example, we know that looking at data, anything more than 10 sets of a particular body part becomes junk. Anything past 10, they know imperially is just no point. Essentially, they're saying anything past 10 is either most likely not enough stimulation, because if to do 10 sets, say example, right, bench press, we do 10 sets of bench press, like 10 by 10 German training. If you're at the right intensity, that last set is your soul's leaving the body, sort of thing.
Oh, I remember I used to do
10 by 10 squats.
I've done that, but one of the, I think it was in Arnie's blueprint, is like 10 sets of bench press and 10 sets of barbell rows supersetted. Hey, it's nice because you get your little station set up and you just saying,
crank it out.
I've got 10 sets of these, and then I'm fucking hell, I was absolutely wrecked. Absolutely screwed in one session.
But again, it's like you're essentially taking all of that and you're spreading it across your 4 days. So like day one would be bench press. I do 3 sets of 8 at around about 75% 1RM. I back squat, same, 3 sets of 8, about 75%. I do basically a movement for every section. So like a push pull, a hinge, a lunge.
Do that every day.
Every day. But then, like example, next day, second day would be, right, first lift, priority lift is going to be a box squat, barbell back squat to a box. Same rep range, same intensity, incline press. I might do like an underhand pull up, some rear delt stuff, maybe face pulls, maybe whatever it may be. And then Wednesday it'll be another squat variant, so probably like a split squat or a front squat. And Thursday it'd be the same. And it sounded mental, mate. When I first wrote it up,
we had this conversation not long ago because I asked you. Didn't I,
mate, I felt incredible. It was the strongest I've been in a long time. I mean, I'm probably on par, same level of strength, but I dropped in the 6 months. I dropped like 10 kilos. My back squat, I was like doing 160 for 3 sets of 8 comfortably.
I wonder why the weight dropped though. Do you think that was consequence of just eating as well?
Yeah, mate.
Yeah.
If you look at the pictures of me, I'd basically settled into watch life really well. It's about biscuits and cakes.
Yeah.
That's what I'd done. I'd just smashed biscuits and cakes and meat and not really paid attention. Life was happening. COVID comes around. I think me and Zoe had gone for a walk or whatever, and then she took a picture of me and my top off, and I was like, fuck, I have
Need to do something about this.
something to change. And it comes back to hadn't really tracked. Hadn't tracked food really, kind of just guesstimated things. Hadn't weighed myself in such a long time. Stepped on the scales, man, I was like 150 in kegs. I was like, oh, right, this is a change.
Yeah.
Just little things like that.
People on your watch thinking, I hope Matt doesn't get stuck on a job because
we're not going to get him out. And it's like a real thing. So, but what I'm trying to get at, sorry, is that your recovery in how we train has to be calculated. And what I essentially created, and there's lots of high frequency programs out there, but the one I made, initially, I was like a bit skeptical about this. And to be honest, the first 2 weeks, little bit of DOMs, not massive. After that, mate, no DOMs at all. Never felt better. And if you look at the sort of research behind it, we know that protein synthesis for trained people, after about 12 hours of training, it drops off.
Yeah.
So we need to stimulate it ideally again. So come back to recovery. As long as we're hitting the volume and intensity we need to allow basically the synthesis curve to go up, body recovers, returns to baseline. If we hit it again, then we're constantly keeping that curve up. So we're maximizing growth. We're being as efficient as possible.
To break this down in layman terms very, very quickly, basically what we're saying here is, let's say you have a 5-session or 4-session workout week. You could do bro split, right? You could do chest, back, legs, shoulders, arms, and you could do 6 or 7 sets for each muscle group across those sessions. You're doing them once a week. What Matt is saying he did here is take that session, took like fundamental like core movements and did all of the body every day. So naturally you can't do 6 sets of each muscle group. So reducing them down to 3, but then you spread it or 2 or whatever it is. So you're spreading the load. If you look at it across the week, it's a similar amount of volume.
Yeah. It's about 10 sets basically.
But in terms of the frequency, you've increased the frequency in which you hit that muscle again. So the stimuli to the body to say,
we're going again.
Yeah.
And honestly, it was the best I've felt. I remember the conversation before, and on my 4 days off, I was running.
Yeah.
I could go and run 10 miles, 12 miles and be sound. And I do a little bit of like active recovery walks at that point, or like a stepper or something like that. But most of it, my core function was 4 heavy days weight training.
Yeah.
And then I run a week. And it fit well for me. But coming back to, again, recognizing when to change is that I kind of burnt the candle too far of that, where I dropped to like 100, I think it was 103 kilos. And basically it reached a stage where I was tracking what I was eating. Everything was on point and my deficit was massive. And I was like, I'm going to keep pushing. And then I reached a stage where I was like mentally pretty checked out at that point, because I spent a year on a very rigid way of training. And I enjoyed it for the most part, but it started to get a little bit monotonous, thinking, oh, it's the same thing again, same session again, here we go. Started to feel pretty rough, to be fair, because I was probably reached the stage where recovery was diminishing because lifestyle factors, but the big thing being I was restricting caloric intake by quite a lot at that point. And I recognized in myself, numbers started to stagnate. I started to feel like shit. Right, we need to change now.
Yeah.
And naturally you kind of come to a deload and went from there. The big sort of thing I think is important to talk about is knowing when to recognize that's happening.
Yeah.
Because you want to...
The need for the rest, you mean?
Exactly. And not vilifying rest. Because let's be honest, we live in a busy world, don't we? Where most people, if they're running a company, busy execs, time sat still or not doing the thing is a negative thing. You could be doing something with it. And trust me, with my ADHD, I have 100% got that. If I'm sat still thinking, I could be doing this, could be doing that. But there has to be there's method in the madness. Having that time off allows you to recover, allows you to push harder when you get back to it. And it's not until you have to deload or you do deload that you recognize I needed that.
Always what resonates with me a lot, I can't remember where I first heard it, but if someone hooked you up on an ECG or whatnot, gave no one could see you, you're in a blacked out room and sent you training.
Yeah.
And then showed a medical professional, okay, this person's in terms of their heart rate and what's going on. That person who's here, well, it looks like they're having cardiac arrest or
Yeah.
they're dying. That resonates with me a lot because training is still a stress response.
Yeah.
It's just one your body's going, okay, now if I'm going to do that again, I've got to adapt and get better.
Yeah.
So it's trying to, positively stimulate our body, but it's still a stress response. When we rest, that is where our body is repairing, taking that messaging.
Yeah.
Going, it's like us at the end of our day going, let me check my emails.
Yeah.
At the chaos of work.
Let's
It's
have a
like,
quick review.
take that messaging of the day. Fucking hell, that was tough. Let me do some rebuild here.
Yeah.
So you have to have those two things in synergy, don't you?
Yeah. Well, how would you, in terms of deloading, when do you factor it in for yourself? Or are you quite dynamic with it, or?
Full transparency, and not as strategic with it as I probably should be.
Yeah.
I will wait until I feel something. Usually for me, and it presents differently for different people. Usually I feel like just a drop in overall vigor or just motivation to train.
Yeah.
That's how it presents first for me, and the tiredness and everything starts to come after that. Like if I think of where I am now, I haven't had the love for training for about 4 weeks. It's quite rare for me.
Really?
Yeah. No, I've trained.
Mate, do you talk about it?
No, I'm not in the mood for therapy session. But I've gone and done it for the mind, and now I'm suffering. So like I don't necessarily practice what I preach when it comes to the delos because I need it for my mind.
Yes.
So it's kind of like I'm
catch 22, isn't it?
Yes, it is catch 22. But what I did about a week ago, had 3 days off on the bounce.
Yeah.
And just went, you know what? Fuck it. I'm not going to do anything. If I'm programming for people, I generally like the best approach I still believe is like stay in the rhythm, stay in the routine, just dial back what you're expecting to do, dial back the volume, do 2 sets instead of 4 sets. Don't work to a 10 RPE, work to a 6 or a 7, like pump the blood around. That's the first port of call. And then you use life situations for the full deload.
Yeah.
So again, like family holidays or whatever, which you might have access to stuff, but I like using them as just strong arm it and just say stay away from it. As long as I'm on top of my food, if I'm gonna splurge, I'll train. But that's how I structure it for myself.
Yeah, I'd probably say same for me. It's quite interesting. Before I was talking about, we'll pick this topic because it's quite interesting to talk about. Last competition I had, which was on the week last Saturday. Yeah, Saturday just gone. I said to you, I didn't train all week because the previous 2 I'd gone to just been obviously the British, the national challenge at the end of July. So everything's there, right? I need to smash as much as I can into me. Training time's good time, whether it's like technical stuff, whether it's whatever it is, just the more is better, which is to a certain extent.
Yeah, but you've got to peak well, haven't you?
And that's the thing, is that basically I remember the Northeast felt all right, didn't feel great, but did all right.
What Matt's talking about, by the way, is the firefighter.
Sorry, I should have framed that a little bit better. And when I did the Welsh, literally, mate, day before, my first day, busy day, right? All day out with a shout, quite a significant fire, late getting back home, which then meant late leaving to get to Wales the night before. The idea was finish at 6, get in the car at 6:30, be in Swansea for 8, a little bit of sit down. In the end, I think we got there to like 11:15, had to shower. Then I've been driving for 2 hours. Like it just didn't work. Woke up Saturday morning and felt horrendous. Only felt bad. Looked at my watch. It's like, not recovered. And I was like, I know that. And then literally the remainder of the day, I can barely eat my breakfast because I'm nervous anyway about competing. And so I was like, you all right? I was like, no, I feel like shit. I feel terrible. Not only am I like nervous anyway, because I'm going to go and do this thing that's horrific as fast as I can. I know I'm not ready for it. And it's like, I remember on the Wednesday.
That's where these can be a bit of a curse. I know you feel it
mate,
anyway,
100%. You're like, fucking hell. But anyway, got on with it, did all right. But it was that recognizing, right, if I want to be the best I can be, I have to be recovered. And waking up, days before, mate, I went for a run on the Wednesday, recovery one, woke up on Thursday, and both my glutes were had DOMs.
Yeah.
I was like, fuck, this is not good. And that just compounded. So then a week before, literally, I not took a full deload. I did 1 session, right? Which was literally, I did pull-ups and some dips, and that was it. I haven't done that genuinely in years.
Yeah, I bet your body was like,
It was like, initially, it was like, what the fuck is going on? Then
Thank you,
afterwards,
Matt. Yeah.
felt great.
Yeah.
Like stretching, doing all the little things that I prescribe to people, and I know I should do, but don't do enough of it. Come on the Saturday, having that time off, although I was like part-time and doing bits and bobs, still working, it wasn't, my actual training is significantly more stressful than probably my job most of the time. Having that time off, came to race day on Saturday, the best I've felt ever. They're the best I've performed all year, right? In terms of mental focus, ability, everything else felt locked in. But the week prior to that, I was thinking, I hope this is not for a waste of time. I hope this recovery thing works. And it does. But it's what I'm trying to get at is when you have that time off, it's for a reason. And if we say to you, right, take a week off, or actually we're going to drop your intensity, we're going to drop the volume, it's because we're recognizing something in you that you might not, most of the time you're aware of, aren't you? You know when you feel like shit. And we're trying to prevent you hitting the iceberg. Is what we're trying to do. We're trying to steer you clear of that iceberg and prevent you from sinking. Because if we don't, you hit it and you sink, it's really quite hard to come back from that. Because it diminishes everything. Physically you feel crap, mentally you feel crap. So it's a negative thing. So when we spoke about the last episode about tracking things, being aware of it, there's a guy called Cal Deeks who worked at University of Minnesota, and he was kind of like the godfather of heart rate variability. He bought, this is like in the late 2000s, he bought a ECG and basically have athletes come in, he'd sit them down, do heart rate variability, track it, go from there. And he said after about a month of, because he's switched on bloke anyway, he said he could tell when the athlete walked into the gym.
Oh, I've read this,
whether or not they were going to be knackered. He said the reason why he could look at demeanor, the stance, the posture, how they presented themselves, all these factors, which he'd recognized for years, just gone, but now he actually had something that could give him empirical data that said, this person's not prepared to train. He said now he had that, it just reinforced what he'd already seen. And it got to the stage where people would come in, and he said he wouldn't even hook up to the machine. He said, right, go home. You're not training. And it's recognizing when can you push, when do you need to pull back. And we've already said about the importance of tracking and using that data. It's exactly that.
Mate, for everyone listening, by the way, take that and seriously think about it in retrospect of what you do in your workout system. Of course, if you don't do anything, get doing stuff, but take into account the fact, don't run before you can walk, because you get to that point where HRV is shot, you feel pretty shoddy, your joints are aching, and you won't want to train. It doesn't take long for that to set into place, and probably what you want to do at the start of your journey is feel that motivation to go and do it. So now another important topic, I think we'll pause it there. So we'll continue that conversation at some point in another podcast episode. But thank you guys so much for watching again. Please do hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. You can turn on notification bell if you want to be notified when our podcasts come out. And we'll see you in the next one. Speak soon.